All right, we're back again on the Fantasy Football Podcast. This was supposed to be a joint effort. I had reached out to Oaks to see if we could partner up and satisfy his third required podcast on the year and my self-imposed requirement of at least sticking to one podcast a year. But I haven't heard from the guy, and it's the 11th hour. I've put this off as long as I possibly can. So let's get to the podcast for the year. Basically, it's week 14. Everything is out there. This is the nut cutting time. We've arrived. For some of us, that's very good, and for some of us, that's very bad. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. We'll find out how things go pretty soon with Thursday Night Football, just a couple hours away. So, just running through the payouts, looking at the awards in the end of the year. The Bauer division, it's been Oaks and Kraus for most of the year. Kraus has a two-game edge on total points, and he really only needs one more win to clinch the division. He's playing me this week, and if you looked at my roster, you know how well that's going to go. So I would say congrats, Kraus, on becoming the inaugural Bauer division champ. The sweet irony of taking me out to win my what's the term? Eponymius? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. This is why Ben scored higher than me in Plosker's vocabulary rankings. Eponymius division. I think that's right. I don't know. Either way, Kraus is going to win it. Now the Bootsy division, a little more competitive. Well, I should say a little tighter, not necessarily competitive, because Oaks and Kraus have much more successful seasons. But Ariel has 24 wins, Bootsy has 22. Smith has 20 and could pass up Bootsy, but he won't be able to win the division. So it's really just for Ariel to lose. He plays Schaefer, Billy, and Smith, while Bootsy plays Oaks, Smith, and Carlson. Ariel has a big points edge on Bootsy, so really Bootsy needs to go 3-0, while Ariel goes 0-3. I don't like Bootsy's odds on beating Oaks, who he plays this week, so I think Ariel probably takes it by a narrow margin. I'm running down the list of the payouts. Let's not forget there's more money allocated for the bye week Rumble. So it might be Ariel versus Kraus in a week that should really be off. This is Ariel's second straight bye week Rumble, I believe, or at least he's been in it a few times. Whereas Kraus, I think, finally now gets a chance to play in the bye week Rumble that he's coveted so much. And so he can see what a waste of time it is and how much nicer it would be to just have a week to kick your feet up and relax. All right, the other payouts, the other records. The best record. Kraus has 33 wins, Oaks has 31. Those two are on top. No one else can close them out. They're, as I said, fighting for division. They're also fighting for the total points. They play each other head to head, and they actually both play me. So I think that's where you got to look at what makes up the difference. They're both going to get a win over me, and then they play each other head to head. So that's going to help decide a lot of it. But the Oaks plays Bootsy and Kraus plays Denenberg. So Kraus can lock up the best overall record if he has two wins. If he can beat Denenberg, it really doesn't matter if he loses to Oaks. But then, obviously, whoever wins their head-to-head matchup most likely will win for the best record. For total points, again, no surprise to anyone. It's Kraus and Oaks fighting this one out. Kraus does have a huge advantage, though. He has 116 points over Oaks, so he pretty much has it locked up, obviously. And then similarly, Oaks has a 137 point edge on third place, so he has the second spot locked up. So despite being a one of our bigger payouts, this is probably the least exciting end of year record because. But we know who's going to take first. We know who's going to take second. So on to the next Champions League. Now, did you know that coworker Dan is the reigning 2023 Champions League champion of all champions? No, and neither did I, because Champions League is dumb and we shouldn't do it anymore. And we can expect a healthy discussion about that at the upcoming Weenie Talks. This final will be Dan versus Denenberg. It's the final $200. It's really the only year-end money that Oaks and Kraus aren't going to be splitting, so there's something to that. It's just who scores the most points, and who the hell knows? You have to probably bet on Denenberg, but we'll all be waiting with bated breath, I'm sure. For the clown race, now this is where things really heat up. In the clown race. You've got Billy, Dan, Carlson, and myself being mathematically clownable. Billy is guaranteed to be in the Clown Rumble, as despite his recent win streak, he sits at 11 wins, while I have 14, which means, even if he goes 3-0 and I go 0-3, we would tie and play each other in week 18. In between us, coworker Dan has 12 wins and Carlson has 13 wins. Looking at schedules, especially when players are on week 14 buys, that's where things get really interesting. So if you start with my team, thanks to Al Qaeda member Aziz Al Shahir, I don't have a single quarterback playing in week 14, or at least I didn't when I wrote this. I've since picked up Mac Jones, but CJ Stroud and Bo Nix are on buys, and Trevor Lawrence said bye-bye to his brainstem. So all three of those guys are out. I've got Mac Jones. Hooray. Add to that Nico Collins on bye, obviously, as well. And the Texans, I'm in a lot of trouble. As if that wasn't bad enough, my schedule, I play Kraus, Oaks, and Ben, who have a combined winning percentage of 691 on the season. So it's pretty safe to say that I will be going 0-3, and hoping that my 2-win edge can hold up over coworker Dan. If you look at Carlson, he's got Ramondre Stevenson and a few wide receivers on bye. He's been starting Cooper Rush at quarterback, so he's not in much better shape than I am. Still, Rush gets the Bengals' horrific defense on Monday night. Carlson also has Jalen Tolbert to pair with Rush, so Tolbert's been kind of explosive. If he can score a big touchdown, that could be big news for JC. Carlson's schedule, he plays Billy, Smith, and Bootsy. Those three have a combined win percentage of 441, which it doesn't sound that impressive, but it actually is the second highest of the four remaining clown schedules. If you look at Dan has Drake May and Pop Doug out on week 14 buys, but he does have Matt Stafford ready to fill in, so he's not empty at quarterback. He needs Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel to hopefully have a kind of fully defrosted comeback. And now that they've left that ugly Buffalo game, needs them to put up some numbers against the revitalized and refreshed Chicago Bears. Dan picked up Jonnu Smith. He's been on fire, and so he'll hope that continues. If you look at his schedule, he plays Ben, Denenberg, and Billy, who have a combined winning percentage of 425 on the season. And then lastly, Billy, who most of us figured was just a lock to be the clown, has really kind of caught fire the last couple of weeks, and if not anything else, has at least narrowed the gap on what his potential handicap could be in a clown rumble. He loses Anthony Richardson and Cortland Sutton to week 14 buys. Both of those players have been very solid, and they've been a big part of his late season surge. So that's an issue. He needs to fill that void, but he has Jonathan Brooks, who just had his first big game last week. Will Levis has a decent matchup against the Jaguars. So Billy plays Carlson, he plays Dan, and he plays Ariel. That group has the lowest combined winning percentage of any of the clown eligible opponent groups, but that's because he's playing two of the other four clown possibilities, and Carlson and Dan. So even with that stroke of luck, Billy's matchups, they're most likely going to decide who's in the clown rumble. If Billy beats both of them, then they'll end up playing him in a three-way week 18 matchup. If one or both of them can beat Billy and scrape together at least one win, they'll most likely drag me into a four-way clown rumble in week 18. So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen for obvious reasons. I pride myself on being a historic competitor in the annals of CA league history. I have had a couple seasons where I've flirted with the clown position, in the last couple of weeks, but have generally found my way out of it. This is the first time I've really entered the last week with even a hint of clown potential. And frankly, I think I deserve it. My team is terrible this year. I didn't have a lot of draft assets, and then I sold a little bit and got rid of some pieces that could have helped me avoid this. So I lost a matchup to Carlson, I think in week 10 or 11, where I think I lost by less than a point, and Juju Smith-Schuster, I started that week, went out in the first quarter without a catch, and so even just a nothing catch would have gotten me a win over Carlson, which would have basically eliminated me from Clown Rumble this week, but that didn't happen, and I'm sure everyone else in position has a similar sob story. So, the best I can hope for is that Carlson, or probably more likely coworker Dan, goes 0-3 this week and finds himself in a rumble with Billy, and leaves me the hell out of it. But I guess we'll find out. That's pretty much it for the podcast. And this has been a short one. But while I was recording it, I just got a text from Michelle that I think Brady broke his nose playing flag football up at the Park District in Lake Bluff. So I gotta go figure out what the hell's going on there. Until next time, good luck.